As you can see, it rains in Panama. Wow, I didn't even order that thunder. What a great timing. All right, so today in Bocas, we are getting quite a bit of rain. It's been raining now for about an hour and a half, I would say. And let's see how much we've gotten so far. A little over 2 inches. But this is not abnormal. It's rainy season. Although this is kind of one of the first big rains that we've had this year. We had one bigger one a couple months ago, but it hasn't been raining very much. But it's another season right now, hurricane season. And in today's video, we're going to talk all about hurricanes. And this is Ike, who hates thunder and braved the rain to get over here next to Mama. Okay, I'm going to go back in the house so Ike doesn't have to be in the rain. And we're going to talk all about hurricanes and Panama. All right, the rain has dissipated a little bit. It's not as loud, so I don't have to scream. So now it's time to sit down and talk about hurricanes and how they affect Panama. All right, so if you are interested in all things Panama, which I assume you are, or you wouldn't be on this channel, you need to make sure you hit subscribe, hit notify. That way every time we post a video, you're going to get a notification. And don't forget to join the I Go Panama Facebook group. Look, I can't tell you everything about Panama in one video a week. It isn't going to happen. But every question you could possibly have about Panama, be it moving to Panama, living in Panama, or just visiting Panama as a tourist, we are asking and answering those questions over in that Facebook group every single day. And the group has been going for about a year now, and we have almost 10,000 members. It's crazy. We should hit 10,000 by the end of July. It's insane how quickly it's grown. It's a place for education, all right? It's not a place for bullying and trolling and, you know, being rude and all of that stuff. So if you're that person, go to one of the other expat groups where they allow it. We don't allow it at I Go Panama. We're there to educate and be educated. All right, so the link for that is below in the video description. All right, with no further ado, let's get back to hurricanes. So my experience with hurricanes is that I grew up on the Gulf Coast of Texas. I lived on Galveston Island, in fact, for many, many years. So I'm very familiar with hurricanes. Plus, I'm an earth science teacher, so I teach kids about hurricanes. Hurricanes are something that have always interested me, mainly because I grew up with them, and it was such a scary thing dealing with when I was a kid, and then when I was living on Galveston Island, even scarier. You know, educating yourself is one way to get over fears. Now, that said, when I was planning, you know, I lived in Los Angeles for almost 20 years. We don't have hurricanes over there. So when I was planning to move to the tropics and knowing that I wanted to be on the ocean, hurricanes were definitely a consideration in the forefront of my mind. And I was very happy to hear that Panama does not have hurricanes. Okay, now, can we just stop the video now and say, great, no hurricanes, we never have to worry about that? No, we can't. And so let me tell you why. All right, first let's define what a hurricane is. So first we start out somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean with a bunch of loosely organized storms, and that's going to be called a tropical depression. And if conditions are right, very warm water being one of those conditions, those storms can start to organize. And as they organize, they start to swirl around each other, okay? And once this starts to happen and the winds reach 39 miles per hour, we now upgrade our tropical depression to a tropical storm. So a tropical storm is more developed than tropical depression, has higher winds, more rains, is a little larger, and now has the potential to develop into a hurricane. If that tropical storm becomes more organized and starts really circling around itself, and the winds get up to over 74 miles per hour, now we have a hurricane. And most of you are probably familiar with category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with 5 being the strongest hurricane you can have. Massive winds. I don't have that in front of me because we don't really need to worry about it on this board, but greater than 150 miles an hour. In fact, it might be like 170 and greater is category 5. So when I'm talking these wind speeds, I'm talking sustained winds. So that means if you're standing there in the middle of it, or at the eye, the sustained winds, if they're 74 miles an hour constantly or greater, that's a hurricane. You're going to obviously get gusts that are going to be higher than that. All right, so that's what a hurricane is. Hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th. And so I was going to put this video out a few weeks ago, and then, you know, just life. I've been so busy lately, and I didn't get around to it. But today, I think today is June 30th. Today is kind of important because we are tracking a tropical depression that's off the northern coast of South America right now and is on track to start heading this direction. So it's at the forefront of my mind and a lot of people's minds on the groups. So I kind of wanted to go ahead and do this video and talk about it. All right, so now we know what a hurricane is. The next question is, has a hurricane ever hit Panama? Ask that question on a Facebook group and you're going to get tons of different answers. I'm going to give you the right answer. The right answer is no. A hurricane has never hit Panama. And some of you are out there screaming right now, Mary, Hurricane Martha, what about that? Okay, let's talk about Hurricane Martha. First, let's talk about what a hurricane hitting means. What does the hit mean? The hit means that the eye of the hurricane, the center of it, the strongest part of the hurricane, where that actually makes landfall, that's where the hurricane hits. Obviously, out from the eye, you still have massive amounts of wind, massive amounts of rain. So let's say we have a Category 3 hurricane. Around the eye is going to be, I'll do it this way, around the eye is going to be that Category 3 wind speeds. But then as we move out, then we're looking at Category 2. As we move further out, we're looking at Category 1. As we move further out, we're looking at tropical storm strength. Okay, so it's going to weaken as it goes out. Hurricanes can be hundreds of miles across. So where it hit does not mean that that's the only place that damage is occurring, as we're going to talk about here in a moment. Okay, so Hurricane Martha, back to that. Hurricane Martha developed in the Southern Caribbean in 1969 toward the end of hurricane season, so late in November, like around the 24th or something. And it reached sustained winds of 90 miles per hour, which put it as a Category 1, the weakest category of hurricanes. However, as it moved closer, it weakened further. So it weakened back into a tropical storm. And by the time that it actually hit Panama and it hit in Veraguas province, by the time it hit, the winds were at 70 miles per hour. So it was not a hurricane when it hit. It had been a hurricane, but at the point that it made landfall, it was just a tropical storm. All right, so that is the only previously named hurricane that has ever hit Panama. And obviously that was over 50 years ago. So why is this? Why isn't Panama just getting slammed by hurricanes like Florida or the Yucatan Peninsula or Texas? Basically the geography of Panama. So we lie in what a definition of hurricane belt, you'll hear that term, is very loose. Hurricane belt is kind of the area where hurricanes tend to hit the most. And then within that, there's an area called Hurricane Alley, which is like the track where the absolute most hurricanes hit within the belt, the track that they follow. We're below that hurricane belt. So the geography of Panama kind of keeps us out of that. Does that mean that we're never going to experience a hurricane here? No, it does not mean that at all, especially with climate change, with water warming up and things, weather patterns just changing around the world. But if hurricanes are high on your I want to avoid this list, Panama is a good choice for you because the chances are you're not going to get hit by a hurricane here. Okay? Now, let's talk about what you do have to worry about here as far as tropical storms and hurricanes go. So I will say that right before I moved here, so it was in early November of 2020, and Brian and I moved here in mid-November of 2020, a huge hurricane came swooshing up through the Southern Caribbean and actually hit Nicaragua, in southern Nicaragua. This was Hurricane Eta, and it was a Category 4, which is like no joke. Okay, sustained winds of 150 miles per hour. Okay, now in the grand scheme of life, Nicaragua is not that far away, especially from here in Bocas, because we're in northern Panama, or however it lies. I always get all that mixed up. But we're near the Costa Rica border. So we really only have just that swath of Costa Rica between us and Nicaragua. And again, hurricanes can be hundreds of miles across, and the higher the category of hurricane, the larger the storm is going to be. So while we did not get hit by a hurricane here in Panama, we definitely had the effects from Hurricane Eta, and we had some serious effects. We had massive flooding, especially in Chiriquí province, and probably one of the things that affected me the most was that the main road between David and Bocas was actually severed in half by a landslide. So the entire road slid off of the mountain. There was no road. And I know they had a lot of flooding in Sarapunta, I believe it is, up in the Volcan area. And I do believe some people actually died in the flooding too. So we didn't have the super crazy winds and that kind of thing here from the hurricane, but we were close enough that we got those outer rain bands, and they were strong because Hurricane Eta, again, was a strong hurricane. So we got those heavy rain bands that were on the outer edge of that hurricane. Again, the hurricane didn't hit here, but we got the effects from it. So I'm going to actually put some video footage in to show you when that road was severed. It was no joke. It was pretty scary. All right, so bottom line, Panama and hurricanes. Does Panama need to worry about getting hit by a hurricane? It's not very likely. But again, a hit by a hurricane means that the eye wall is making landfall in Panama. Do we have to worry about things like hurricanes that are moving up into northern Costa Rica or Nicaragua? Or do we have to worry about the effects from that, the rains and things? Absolutely. You do have to worry about that. So right now we have this storm that is over South America. It's not even a storm yet. It's a tropical depression. It's showing about a 90% chance of it developing into a tropical storm, and showing a track of it going into poor southern Nicaragua. So I doubt we're going to get much rain from it, really. It's pretty slow moving. It has been kind of twirling out there for several days. It's not organized itself very much yet. I don't think we're going to get a huge amount of rain. I could be wrong. Who knows? It's the weather. Lord knows you cannot predict the weather here. But bottom line, hurricanes are a concern of yours. Really, don't worry about it. Panama is pretty darn safe for hurricanes, so you can mark that natural disaster off your list. Of course, we have some earthquakes, but you know, you can't have everything perfect in paradise. All right, so that's all for today. I'm gonna keep my eye on this storm that's brewing and see what comes of it. And other than that, I will see you guys next week. Stay dry.